Hi, everyone. So we're live. Thank you for attending the first of many MSP Spotlights. This is a new series from DNS Filter, and I'll be your host. I'm Mikey Pruitt. I'm the MSP evangelist here. And that just means my whole job is to confirm that you, our valued MSP partners, have the tools you need for success. And that's not just success with DNS Filter, but success with your business. Todd has nearly 40 years of experience in the IT field. He's seen trends come and go. He celebrated 20 years owning and operating his MSP, Tech Team Solutions, just a few months ago. We're going to discuss your ideal customer profile, hiring and training, and who makes up your board of directors. So without further ado, Todd, introduce yourself better than I have.
Well, thank you. Glad to jump in and be here. My name is Todd Drunagel with Tech Team Solutions. I come from Winchester, Virginia. Started in, I guess it was maybe even before it was called Break Fix days in '84 with the IBM PC and working business service and computer sales, and have seen that evolve over the years evolved into DOS and Windows and the World Wide Web and virtualization today. So like I said, it's with 20 years with this shingle out. So moving along.
Put your shingle out. So tell us a bit about Tech Team Solutions. Like, how did you get started with Tech Team Solutions? What made you decide to begin an MSP?
Well, I was between jobs or not in a job and needing to eat and provide for my family. So started back in with what I had done and knew well in 2002, right after September 11 and all of the things there that sort of in the business world brought a lot of changes. So put this shingle out in 2002 and have just built and grown it sort of slow and steady over the 20 years.
So you were an accidental entrepreneur and it turned out to be a 20-year career.
Right. Well, I had done this prior from the mid 80s and then went to work in the corporate world locally. And then when that ended, then from necessity's sake, started this again. So did round two. But
Very
still
cool.
here in the hometown and local, so it wasn't unfriendly or unknown territory.
Yeah, so let's talk about that local geography. Todd and I had a chance to chat earlier, so I already know these answers, but it's going to be great for the audience to hear them. Tell me about the distance to your nearest large metro area.
We're about an hour and a half without traffic from Washington, D.C. So we're outside of all of the federal business market, the government market. So we're more rural, though it's a good business community, and solid is just not the government world here. So we're more rural. We service small, medium-sized business, locally owned, locally grown business.
So the draw of the city, I guess, never called to you?
That commute, that 2-hour commute to and from work, no, I never heard that phone ring.
And you mentioned something to me yesterday about how you're close to the DC metro area geographically, but in mindset, you're light years away. Can you explain that a little bit?
Well, like I said, being removed from the government market, my company, we don't do a lot of government work. There's a lot of companies in every industry here that does do government work. But being removed from that, we're just where our customers are, we don't get into that area. We just focus more locally and close to home.
So it sounds like you're focusing on small and medium businesses. Is there any specific vertical that you're targeting?
We don't target a specific vertical. We end up in our area, we're very dense with healthcare, as probably most areas are, but we do a lot of healthcare, insurance, professional offices, manufacturing, so a wide variety where it's not vertical, where we don't only do like 3D modeling with SolidWorks and things. We work with that and help and support actually that one product with several customers. So we're just very familiar with a lot and a wide area and a wide range of products.
So when you're dealing with a very large segment of your customer base, like they're representing a lot of different verticals. Sounds like they have a lot of different security stacks. How do you think that the tech team solutions, like what has your niche become? You know, what is your focus in the market? Like if you're dealing with all these different verticals.
Work towards a common stack among what we're offering to customers. You know, we're going to do like an Office 365. We still do some hosted exchange, so we don't have, you know, a take it or leave it stack. There's different tools and things that we can add in as customers build and develop a need for more sophisticated products. You know, we're going to add in different types of backup solutions. We're going to add in security awareness training and phishing tools and all of that as people encounter what this is or already have pretty much, then they're looking to add those. So being familiar with those.
So what would you consider your ideal customer across this broad spectrum of different styles of companies? Like what type of person are you looking for?
Most of our customers are a business location, you know, an office building, an office suite or something with 10 to 20 users. You know, obviously we have some that are smaller. We've got some that have, you know, several locations throughout the state and hundreds of users.
Are there any specific characteristics that stand out as common across this large spectrum?
I think a lot of ours are locally owned. You know, the owner is local in the area and active at different levels within the business so that we're able to, you know, communicate directly when necessary to the owner, or, you know, if they have an IT staff or a CFO that usually ends up picking up that department within their company, that, you know, we're getting that level of engagement with the customers whenever possible, that it's more relationship based than transactional.
Yeah, that sounds like a really good takeaway. So you're saying that you have a customer profile, but it spans multiple industries, different verticals. You're looking for the type of business that fits a mold, but the mold is not healthcare or manufacturing. It includes almost any style of business within a certain class in that segment.
Right, where there's, you know, an active, engaged owner, and a larger company, you know, you're not going to always engage with the owner, but, you know, it's going to be a family feel like we are as a company. Most of our customers are the same, you know, they feel like they're a small family business, even if they're larger. It just allows you to create that relationship and build, you know, at the owner level, even at the staff level. You know, we get to know the customers.
So you've mentioned the word relationship twice. So let's dig into that a little bit more. It sounds like that's a really key driver for the success of Tech Team Solutions. What is that relationship that you're trying to build?
I think it's just that of like a resource that they can go to become a trusted advisor. You know, obviously, if they have health insurance questions, they're not going to ask me. But if they have questions, you know, along technology, telephone, printer, copier, network, you know, anything in a technology area, the one that they would ask, maybe one of several that they would ask, but it would be answers back to them that they would have value and respect for.
So when you're building this relationship, you're becoming the trusted advisor, you know, in the tech realm of things. Is it solely you that is being this advisor, or is it other members of your staff that are acting as in that capacity?
We've got other staff as well that, you know, a lot of the staff is more on premise and in front of the customer on a day or weekly basis than I am. So instilling in the staff to listen for what they're asking, or maybe inadvertently asking, or not directly asking, but what input and questions are you getting from their staff? And are you comfortable, competent, and capable to give that answer? And if
So that
not, relay it back to me or someone else in the office that can engage them with the proper level of discussion that they're needing.
yeah, so we're talking about building the relationship, building a rapport, being an advisor, and that you alone can't do this job. So how do you look for people that can be this advisor role, to improve the Tech Team Solutions customer service, essentially? What are you looking for?
I'm looking always for staff that can have and present this kind of discussion. If they don't have the answer, get the answer and still be relay it back to the customer.
Are there any personality traits that you see stand out?
I think that that you can only improve on customer service skills if they're there to begin with. I don't think you can educate yourself into customer service. You can elevate yourself within customer service. But I just tell all of our staff that treat the customers the way you'd like to be treated if a vendor came to you or a customer came to you. Be professional with them, be honest. No answer or I'll get back with you is 10 times better than a bad or a wrong answer. And that, so often people are so gung-ho to have an answer that sounds good. Well, it might be completely off base or inaccurate, but it had a bunch of big words in it and it sounded good to the customer. But when the customer goes to digest it or share it with somebody else, you haven't done them a favor at all.
Yeah, or they try to implement based on bad information.
Right.
And then you're digging a bigger hole for them and you.
That's right. Yeah. And it's sometimes you can't undig that hole. It's better to have I'll get back to you or no answer.
And you said something earlier about that Tech Team Solutions is not an IT company, but a customer service company. Is that
In a
something
lot of
that
ways, it is. It's, we just happen, maybe there's our vertical or market specialty you were talking about earlier, that technology is that. But yeah, we provide customer service. That's from our administrative staff. They're providing customer service to the clients. That's the tech staff. It's customer service. We're giving them the service that they need, whether it's, I've got a question about the invoice, my printer doesn't work, hey, the printer doesn't work, I can't print your check. There's two reasons for customer service.
that's a good one. I would like my check this week, please. So you're looking for advisors with good customer service skills. How does that play into what type of tech experience do they need or do you require?
That we're always looking for some strong basis of tech in some area and field. They might be a networking expert or a printer service expert, but something that they can build and expand on from what they already have. If you're good at networking, then obviously you've been able to do a little bit of desktop service and support in order to build the network. So if you're not super strong in Windows 11, but you're great with server, you've got the intuitive kind of mind processing to be able to take some training, work with some of our other staff to expand your skills into different areas. But nobody's going to be a wizard in all areas. We try to get some staff that's sort of a first string for a product, and then build some depth under that with second string and third string. But at least everybody's got a clue of the products that we offer. But no, nobody can be the champion of everything. But just be familiar with it all, and then have your silos of strength.
So you have like someone who really knows how to administer a DNS filter well, and then if other people are knowledgeable enough to do stuff, but if something comes up where they are unsure, they have an expert to go to that's on staff.
Right. Yep. And then build your second string, your third string. And, if you lose a technician, we just take our grid and say, all right, well, they were the champion for this. They were third string for these four things. And then who can we move around? Because who we bring in and our next hire, they may not have a clue of what, DHCP is. Well, they should, but, they're not going to be this. They're not going to be strong in all the areas, but they can come in and maybe be second string right off on some things that we're weak in, or even if we're strong there, they've got a good basis, and we do some training and education, work them with our champion and get them up to speed with those products that they're going to be someday working towards being first string on.
Yeah, that makes sense. And we hear that a lot from our successful MSPs like yourself they're kind of forming like a pod, like a little team that can be expert or can triage most things and reach out to other pods if necessary. So that's really, really good to hear. But let's switch gears for a second and talk about your history in the industry. Like you've been in IT for 40 years. You've probably seen a lot of things. Like you were mentioning dial-up modems earlier before we jumped on this call. So what are some of the trends that you've seen come and go, and like why do you think they left? And we'll end up with what do you think is next?
Well, I know when I started, we had an IBM PC. So, we had some offices that might have had two. They had two standalone computers, and then along came NetWare. And anybody that knows NetWare probably agrees that it was a fantastic product that only lost a marketing battle. It did not lose anything else. But when you don't have the Microsoft money behind you, you're going to be the fastest car that didn't win the race. But
that sounds like a Betamax versus VHS argument where
that's
Betamax
right.
was superior technologically.
Exactly. Yep. I've heard a few people make that exact same reference. So, the end of NetWare, and then I remember the DOS and, Comdex days that when Windows came out, even before it was Windows 3.1, it was just Microsoft Windows. And, half the auditorium was sticking with DOS and half was moving to Windows. Just over, the decades, you get different big milestone things in the industry like that. And, the evolution of the World Wide Web, and I don't want to say like cyber things, ransomware, not so much a landmark event, but, virtualization brought a whole new area. That came from the AS400 kind of things, that VM was there way before it was in our industry at the desktop and the PC level. It's interesting to see all the way from standalones only, all the way up now where you've got WVD and all of that used to be the thing in the office. Now it's, sort of like grabbing a piece of candy out of the dish. There's a whole dish of 20 pieces of candy there. We just grab a PC out of there.
Something that seems so outlandish, and that it's finally here, and then 5-10 years later it's like, oh yeah, of course we do that.
Right.
So you mentioned networking, and then you mentioned like virtualization, and it seems like we're kind of in a virtualization transition to more cloud server resources. Is that something that you and Tech Team Solutions is experiencing?
Yeah, we have not beaten the door down demand. Like I said, we're more of a rural than a big city thing. So a lot of technology things are slower to get here. But as the business managers, owners, as they're a younger generation, they're already looking for these things. So we're not 5-7 years behind where the larger providers, the big city providers are. You're almost having to be right there at or near the front, at least from a very educated or experienced standpoint with, Azure or AWS, things like that. You've just got to be in tune with it pardon that pun with a different product, but just, you got to know what's out there and when it may apply to a customer that it fits them, and either they don't know it and need to, or it doesn't fit them and they need to know why.
So you're having to actively train yourselves on these emerging things, and like you said, you're more rural. Like some people may be experiencing a more cloud heavy environment already. Some may be fully cloud, and you probably have customers that are fully cloud, some that are hybrid, some that are on-prem. Is that the situation that you're seeing?
Yes, yeah, definitely have more on-prem historical things and a lot of inquiry and slight interaction or migration to cloud things. A lot of people don't think email's a cloud. A lot of end users, oh, Outlook's on my computer. Well, email came from the cloud. Email's always
Right.
been a cloud product before it was the cloud.
The original.
So, everybody's in the cloud. They just don't know it or don't realize the scope of where and how everything flows.
Yeah, I think you just answered every question there is. You're already in the cloud. You're already there.
Right. Yeah.
So,
It's just, do you want to recognize and acknowledge it and call it that, or do you want to call it, well, my email's local because it's on my machine.
yeah, and like DNS Filter itself, I'm not trying to make a pitch here, but we are a cloud-based service, taking a job, say your firewall used to have, and doing them, more effectively in the cloud.
Right.
But yeah, the cloud is the thing. It's happening. People are migrating to it. It seems like there will probably be some balance or some hybrid model going forward that everyone will kind of agree certain things belong on-prem, certain things belong in the cloud. But what do you think is the next transition, like after this cloud hybrid thing is like settled? What is coming up on the horizon that we should all be thinking about?
I don't know. I guess the next thing, obviously, we're sort of all knee deep or more into Azure, AWS from a server standpoint, and uh, Windows Virtual Desktop is beginning to. I'm seeing that in more places. Um, we're probably not implementing it anymore over the past year than we were before, but I think it's gonna evolve rapidly, or it's gonna pull back and it's just not gonna become what servers in the cloud are. That it could all become WVD, or I think it's gonna rapidly move ahead or not. There's no way of knowing, but that could be the big quick mover.
Right. So you're like, it's either going to be huge or not.
Right. Yeah. You
And
don't know.
you're right. We're like right on the edge of this. Is this thing going to happen, or is it just going to be another, a flash in the pan type of thing? The cloud.
Right. Yeah. It sounds like a great idea and it just never doesn't get a foothold.
Yeah, and I think a lot of things, just like email and like you said, are more in the cloud than people realize anyway. Like every application on your phone is basically a cloud application,
Right. Yep.
talking
It
to
might
server
be installed
resources
or
and whatnot.
interact locally, but you turn the phone off, it doesn't work.
Yep. So let me ask you another question, just kind of since we're a security company, what role does cybersecurity play for the tech team? Um, what does your kind of lineup look like your stack, and is that consistent across most customers?
For all of the customers we work uh, in an ongoing relationship, other than like break fix, we've got a solid stack of cybersecurity. We implement the DNS filter, and we're going to do a MDR antivirus solution. We use Sentinel-1, but some type of next generation. We're beyond the Norton antivirus days. That's
Right.
coming on.
That was
Um,
the trend. That was the trend you forgot, antivirus. Now it's just it just happens and no one even cares.
right, yeah, it's just assumed, but you got to have a product and it's got to be a good one. And you
So
know,
when you're selling your security stack, or your entire stack or whatever, is it Does it vary a lot by customer, or is it pretty concise across the lineup?
What we install is pretty concise. We've got different levels of customers that understand what it is or don't, or some don't want to know, just are you taking good care of it? And, we're able to prove what we've got. If they want, then, we'll go through the stack with them. Otherwise, they just want to know that we've got everything in secure to the as reasonable as it could be.
I gotcha. So the deployment looks very similar across your various customer base.
Right. Yeah. The only where we get into variance is with a backup solution and the business criticalness of maybe each server or the environment, whether, a file and folder kind of OneDrive, Dropbox kind of solution would work, or if you need, true BDR to do a data device and spin up a server, we'll probably have it spun up by the time we get out there to figure out what went wrong. Big price difference so that, they can pick what works best for them.
I hear you. And that is another uh, takeaway that we see a lot from some of our successful MSPs is that they kind of like serve a menu to their customers. Like, do you want X, Y, or Z, or do you want good, better, best? Or you're in this industry, you have to have Y.
Right. If you got to have compliance, and most people are in some kind of compliance requirement, and they may not realize it. Obviously, a financial planner, they realize they're in a compliance industry, but somebody that might sell just items to the government, they may or may not even know that they've got requirements related back to their contract with, a state or a local government, that they've got certain hoops they got to jump through that, some don't know it, or they bring the contract, they review that with us, and we'll say, all right, here's to meet the things within here. You're going to need a business grade firewall with active services, things like that. Then you get into, like you said, the DNS filter. We put that out as part of our normal stack. You're going to have that whether you know it or not.
Right. And yeah, and that's important. Like that's from you building this relationship and becoming a trusted advisor, they're giving you the leeway to tell them what they need. And that's a very important position to be in for to make your MSP as profitable as it could be.
Right. And,
So
a
what?
lot of times in our contracts, we're not stating we're doing product X and, these 7 things by name are what we're providing. We provide a description of that product. So if we need to change the
Yeah,
product, that we don't have to redo contracts or anything. It's, we're going to provide
the layer of
MDR,
security.
yeah, some type of SOC service or whatever it is, that if we need to change that, then we don't have to redo contracts and really go back and explain it. We do, but it's not holding up the install because somebody didn't want to sign off on it.
Yep, that makes perfect sense. So we have one question in our chat that kind of alludes to our last topic. So I'll ask the question, is there an MSP community site where MSPs can help each other and offer advice? This was asked by Teresa. So one of the things that we had talked about earlier was like you as the owner of Tech Team Solutions, like who do you go to for advice? Who is your board of directors?
Locally, it's me because I sign the checks, but getting toward the spirit of the question, I'm a member of MSP Ignite and I am in an owner peer group. They have peer groups of other job titles that would be within an MSP. So if they have a help desk peer group, they have, a facilitator peer group, all kinds of peer groups within different job titles. And we meet virtually monthly. Every quarter, we meet in person for 2 days. So, you've got 10 or 12 days a year you're committing into the peer group. But that's sort of my board of directors. If I need some questions, some advice from somebody that's been there, then I bring it to my peer group members. And the same with
Yes.
them. Sometimes I've got a good answer, but I've got another question that I have no clue about. So I can provide excellent feedback from prior experience and get the same kind of answer back from someone else in the peer group. So
Yeah, so
I find
peer
great
groups
value.
sound, yeah, peer groups sound really, really important, especially for you at the highest level of a company. Like, where do you go to seek help?
Right. And it's all geographically different. So if it's something that maybe isn't a real great situation, it's not like you're going to print it in your local newspaper or anything. It's can be handled responsibly, and hopefully obtain good counsel and take care of whatever a problem might have been. More
So
often than not, it's all helpful and positive kind of things. But you can get into some personnel discussions and other things that are important in the business, and run into some issues, and somebody else has been there.
yeah, I was just thinking, like, why not just go to r/MSP on Reddit and ask your question there? They
Yeah,
can get a little unruly
do
on Reddit.
that. If you've got a help desk person, there's help desk manager peer groups, and all of the discussions and things there evolve around help desk and service delivery and things important in that job title. So that's whatever your job function is, there's probably a peer group that can provide you awesome input and help, and give you a platform to share and help others too.
So in your peer group, what are some of the most important lessons you've learned that you can share with us?
Probably implementing or getting a grasp of performance metrics and key performing areas in your business, and what to look for, and trends, productivity per employee, and being able to measure that, and then having 8 or 10 others in your peer group that are comfortable sharing that information, and compare it. If my numbers are in line with 8 others, then I'm feeling really good. I'm doing well there. And if I'm way above, well, I'm probably not doing something better than 8 other people. So I'm probably having a reporting issue on the numbers. And if I'm way underperforming everyone else, then there's a great area to work and tune up my business. Find out what are others doing to obtain more profitability or better ticket closure time, first call resolution, things like that. If I can't meet those, then I'm going to look to those that can and seek their counsel on, hey, look at what I've got and help me get to that number.
Yeah, so I think that's really important to know your numbers, to know what to track, know how to track them, and then once you're confident in them, compare them to others that are willing to share, and that way you kind of have a scorecard for yourself and your business. Like, are you
Exactly.
trending down? Are you trending up? And how can you change those?
Right. And not just your scorecard and you say, oh, yeah, I feel good about that number. Well, if everybody else is doing 40% better, if you're not having it to compare, then you don't know that you could do better.
Yeah, exactly. And you wouldn't know that without your peer group, your trusted advisors essentially.
Right. Yeah. I'm not going to go across town and ask a competitor how they're doing in that that's just not how you're going to get something measured and accomplished.
Y'all don't have a Virginia MSP show me your numbers meet breakfast every 2 weeks?
Yeah. No. Over here, I work close with a couple of them here locally, and we're been around a long time and good buddies. But some
Healthy
things,
competition.
right? That's right.
Well, so we're kind of done with the kind of topics we had laid out, but I did get a couple of questions from the form that some people submitted pre the event. And then we'll kind of go through these as a rapid fire to kind of wrap things up. And if anyone else has any questions in the chat, just drop those there and we'll answer those too. So the first one is, do you offer co-managed IT services when customers have on-site IT resources?
We do. We didn't realize it was so much co-managed in some cases where clients had grown into having an IT staff and we were working together. But over the last 2 years, that term has come more full circle into everybody's vocabulary. So yes, we've got some clients where we've evolved into co-managed. We've got some clients where we onboarded in a co-managed environment.
Do you think it's beneficial in that a co-managed environment? Like, is it a hindrance or does it help?
If you can define it well and, you know, build good fences between levels of responsibility of who's responsible for what. Are we providing tools only, or are we providing break fix backup? You know that going in, or agree to have frank and honest discussion after 90 days. And, you know, because if it's new to them, they don't know how it will work. So, you know, we'll do co-managed and then evaluate on their expectations after. But some, like I said, some of them we've evolved into, they've added IT staff. And usually what we find is that IT staff is more in their line of business software or their business specific equipment and manufacturing equipment that interfaces with computers and is on the network, more so than providing the managed services to that business and working closely with, because they can be your best friends or your worst enemy.
Right. They can be, if managed properly, if the relationship is managed properly, they can be a big asset to your business.
Right.
And you don't have to pay them.
Right. Well, you're usually going to discount your fees, but there again, depends on how you define who's doing what. You know, are you truly doing less because they're doing the initial break fix evaluation and determination, or are they only managing their line of business software and they end up being the one that fields most of the questions because they're in an IT role, but they're not going to be the one that goes and fixes things.
I gotcha. So let's move to the next question. This was kind of broad, but maybe you can answer it. It's, how do you onboard new clients and what is the typical timeline? I'm assuming that's like the motions that you would go through to onboard.
Well, we've got a really good checklist. Started with the checklist from a peer group member who had a really good onboarding process and started with that spreadsheet. So that was an excellent start, and then had to fine tune it to adjust for our tools and the way we work. We try to onboard as far as getting our tools in place rapidly so that we've got, you know, a good handle on the environment. If we can get a good network scan and evaluation beforehand, depending on the situation, that's always helpful. But yeah, try to run through our checklist to at least have a full grasp on the network as soon as possible. Then go through the, you know, getting the tools, things like that in place so that they're not any more vulnerable than they were before, and get on through that checklist rapidly. And we've got different points where we don't stop or halt, but interact intentionally with different folks at that organization at different times. Either status report, or, you know, if you find something that really needs reported to management, something might need to stop or get acted upon sooner.
Yeah, it sounds like speed is your friend in this. And also you mentioned that, like, there may be, like, say the customer was managed by another service provider previously, and you may have to uninstall some things to then uninstall things that you're going to use. And there is a time period in there where these machines or devices are potentially vulnerable. And that
part you always try to coordinate with. Fortunately, I don't think we've ever had a bad situation with the incumbent MSP, that we had clients that were in that position. It was sort of, you know, as friendly and cooperative as it can be, which maybe is one good thing of being in a small geographic area where, good or bad, you know everybody that you're working with. So it's, and when we're offboarding a client, we try to, return that favor and work with them in the same way we like to be worked with.
That makes sense. So I got two more questions. One of them is self-serving, so I'll do that one first. Do you use DNS filter to offer blocking of inappropriate material like adult content, or do you use it strictly as a means for threat protection?
We use it for both. Um, from adult content, I'll just speak to that briefly, it's hard to define. And to a medical office, you almost can't do, you got, they're doing medical search and different things. So a lot of what in one office might hit that trigger and not be wanted, it's needed for the right reasons at a medical office. So yes, we do utilize it for that and other categories. In addition on us, we use sonic walls in most locations and utilize the content filtering there.
Yes, layers of security.
It might be who catches it. Does it become a DNS lookup issue with DNS filter or the sonic wall first? I don't know who might hit it first, but
yep. Yeah, and that's why it's important to have unique policies per customer.
Right, and that's what we found, that you've got to have. It would be nice to have a global category. So like I could say all of our customers, the local newspaper is okay, and not have to go to each customer as part of our onboarding and defining what content is okay, having to state, the local newspaper, to be able to do that globally for our clients. But
yeah,
for other good reasons, it doesn't do that. And part of that probably is speed and performance.
Well, I wouldn't be doing my job very well if I didn't mention our new feature, universal lists. So you can basically create an allow and block list for all of your organizations. So if there's that local newspaper, you can add it to the global allow list, and it will take precedence over any policy anywhere in your orgs or suborgs. So we are making strides towards like that global management area, starting with that universal list. So if you're listening to this, or Todd, you should check that feature out.
Go find my DNS filter champion and
yeah, tell him to call me. I'll walk him through it.
Yeah, no, that's great.
The last question is, where do you find new customers?
Most of our new customers we've gotten from referrals from ISPs, Chamber of Commerce, or word of mouth. We do a fair amount of advertising more as a courtesy or business promotion, like golf tournaments and things like that for individual charities. So, maybe some of that is seen there, but we work close with ISPs locally in the area, and as employees come and go from places where we do service and don't, a lot of times, they're calling us or getting us introduced where they're going. If you've got a relationship with that office and the staff, you've got more than just a one-person relationship with the owner.
Yeah, with the whole team, basically. And that, I was going to say, that makes a lot of sense with your rural location and the typical size of your businesses. Like a word of mouth and referral, getting new business that way is going to be probably the most appropriate means to do so. Like running a massive Facebook campaign may not help you as much as someone in a bigger or different geography.
Right. Yeah. I'm assuming that's right, because that's how I'm.
You're like, probably. We should ask your peer group, and then you can come back in a month or two and let us know what you found out.
Right. Yeah, but not big. And we've got Facebook and do that, but it's not an active part of our marketing plan.
Yeah, referral, word of mouth, and that's really solid leads. Like you can't go wrong with that. If you can,
right, already starts warm.
If you can get enough of those, like you hardly have to do much else.
Right.
Well, Todd, I think that, kind of wraps everything up. I really appreciate you being the first MSP Spotlight on this
Okay.
webinar series that
Appreciate
we're
the
going to do.
opportunity.
And we are very appreciative to have you, and we look forward to chatting with you in the future. And thank you everybody for joining, and we will sign off. Thanks, Todd.
Yep, you are welcome. Have a great afternoon.